So I'm calling this video civil, as in civil war, civil unrest, the civil war that you liberals are trying to bring to America to split us in half and destroy us. But I'm going to show off some pictures. Here's a picture of Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev after the wall fell. Not a problem. Here's George H.W. Bush shaking hands with Mikhail Gorbachev as well when he was still president and when George Bush became. Here's a picture of Bill Clinton with Boris Yeltsin. Not a problem. Here is George W. Bush with a picture of Vladimir Putin. Again, not a problem. They were both presidents. Here's Vladimir Putin shaking hands with our former president, Obama. Again, not a problem. A picture here of Bill Clinton shaking hands with Vladimir Putin. Now, that seems rather strange until you see the next image, which is Hillary Clinton, who was Secretary of State, shaking hands with Vladimir Putin. Again, heads of state meet with Russian presidents. And a picture, of course, of these two together. And I'm sure you hate one or the other because you can't like both. Not a problem. So why is it this picture is causing so much chaos on the left? Screaming treason. This never happens. We want to know what they said in secret. The world's ending. The sky is falling. I feel like I'm living in a Chicken Little cartoon. Really? Why? This happens for 70 years. It's because of these people.
That we talked about were thought to be fringe ideas, radical ideas, extremist ideas. Those ideas are now mainstream.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
What's Uncle Tom but for white women who disappoint other white women?
One way you get rid of Trump is a crashing economy, so please bring on the recession.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Police and protesters violently clashed after a fatal police shooting left a person dead in Chicago on Saturday afternoon. A large crowd began to gather near the street where the fatal police shooting occurred, and for hours protesters and police faced off in often violent scenes. Chicago police could be seen swinging their batons at individuals
Claiming of a second civil war. Alex Jones, before July 4th, warned about the coming escalation toward a second civil war, and I've talked about it as well. And then, of course, deranged lying leftists said that since there weren't North and South soldiers lining up with muskets on July 4th, that all the predictions are bunk. I mean, they are mocking themselves. They're a parody of themselves. In truth, the second civil war it has already started. InfoWars and Breitbart and others have documented now 133 cases of violence carried out against Trump supporters on the streets of America, and more have occurred since then.
Hi, well, this is Max Plagueis. It seems to me that the left is no longer just crazy or silly. They have gone completely schizophrenic. I'll cover a few articles here. One is from Zero Hedge. How Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez misunderstands American poverty. Democratic socialism is in the news again. Following Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's stunning victory, helping her become a darling in the mainstream media, Americans are becoming interested in democratic socialism again, a philosophy that involves voting to steal your stuff, to Two key planks of democratic socialism are to rail against the rich and promise everything for free. Which then leads to the next question, and I've said this in many of my videos. Who's going to pay for all the free stuff? Because eventually you run out of other people's money. Communism has to spin everybody, and everything's free. Well, who pays for it? Just make money out of thin air, right? That's what we do now, right? Well, that doesn't last for long. Eventually you end up with hyperinflation. This article here I have from The Guardian. Americans dropped 26,171 bombs in 2016. What a bloody end to Obama's reign. This ends up being the same countries from Obama's travel ban and Trump's travel ban. Let's continue with this narrative of real Russian collusion and interference. Hillary Clinton colluding with Russia. Uranium One. Hundreds of millions of dollars to the Clinton Foundation, which is nothing more than a slush fund. $500,000 for Bill Clinton speeches. The Russian dossier paid for by 5 Russian intelligence agent sources. Trump's so-called Muslim ban, which is Obama's travel ban from countries he bombed, is just that. It is a Trump travel ban. Less than 10% of Muslims around the world are being banned from this country. Okay? The most predominating Muslim countries are still allowed to come here. So, next phase of insanity. Trump separating kids from parents at the border? No, it's been a law going on for years. And it was pictures of Obama-era children in cages. And they were actually separated from their parents in their home countries. 10,000 of the 12,000 that came in recently didn't even have parents with them when they got here. This is lies and more lies from the leftist lunatic media. Now they want to war with Russia rather than peace, claiming Trump is siding with Russia. Trump is colluding with Russia again. Trump's a traitor. They wanted war with North Korea rather than peace. They want the First and Second Amendment taken away. The Fourth Amendment, the 10th Amendment. Well, just any of the Bill of Rights, take it all away. We don't want any of it. That's just what the left wants. Nothing, no rights. They don't realize how badly it will hurt them too. They call for his assassination daily. They want Trump supporters attacked in public. You were so worried about Russians interfering with elections. Why do we have open registration for voters? San Francisco gives illegal aliens the right to vote in local elections. This is bull crap. This is no longer Trump derangement syndrome or lefty loonies. This is complete schizophrenia where they don't know what they're doing from one second to the next. This nightmare demonic onslaught requires the Lord God needs to put his secret weapons into this mix. In my opinion, at least. But I know that he needs to put his supernatural touch here. And I pray the Lord Jesus Christ brings peace to us all, this whole world, because we need it. God's secret weapons, look to Revelation. He's got prophets he sends in. He's got chosen people he picks. And he's got plagues to bring. And so any of those things will be, a great thing to let us know that God is still listening and God truly does care about justice. Because, not that I believe this, but you almost have to see yourself, if God lets these people, these deep state people, continue to get away with their treasonous and murderous acts and everything, things we don't even want to know about, he's going to have to apologize for places like Sodom and Gomorrah and Nazi Germany. So, I'll pop in here at the end of this video, but I have a short message about what's going on in our schools and how they're trying to communize. Well, they've already done it with the recent generations, but with the new generation of children in schools. They want to have us all under the sickle and hammer. NEA, Teachers Union setting a stage for civil war. July 16, 2018, Stuart Ward, Civil War featured Oath Keepers. The below write-up is from a current National Education Association or NEA employee who is disturbed at what is happening inside teachers' unions and feels compelled to speak out. NEA Insider. The NEA just held their national convention in Minneapolis, Minnesota, June 30th to July 5th, 2018, and adopted the following resolution. Number 1, white supremacy culture. The National Education Association believes that in order to achieve racial and social justice, educators must acknowledge the existence of white supremacy culture as a primary root cause of institutional racism, structural racism, and white privilege. Additionally, the association believes that the norms, standards, and organizational structures manifested in white supremacy culture perpetually exploit and oppress people of color and serve as detriments to racial justice. Further, the invisible racial benefits of white privilege, which are automatically conferred irrespective of wealth, gender, or other factors, severely limit opportunities for people of color and impede full achievable in racial and social justice. Therefore, the association will actively advocate for social and educational strategies fostering the eradication of institutional racism and white privilege perpetuated by white supremacy culture, 2018. Both the NEA and AFT, the American Federation of Teachers, are competing to determine who can be the most anti-white in America. The two national unions look to the Southern Poverty Law Center for information and guidance, with the SPLC seen as the final arbitrator as to who is and who is not racist in America. The only problem is that if you are conservative, value the U.S. Constitution, and believe in liberty, you are declared a racist. Both the NEA and AFT have determined that it is easier to organize around race than bargain for teachers' salaries and benefits. Both national unions believe that it is a successful strategy for recruiting American black teachers. They also see this as their strategy for transforming our national culture and way of life. It began first as the unconscious bias. The doctrine was that white people did not know that they were racist, but could be trained to not be. Now, publicly, that is urged white culture must be purged, period, and that white people cannot be cured or cure themselves of this taint. This is absolute racism in reverse. This is the new centerpiece of the leftist organizing movement and is designed to make people, all non-white people, feel like victims. Therefore, you must have government rules and regulations that purge white thinking, symbols, and images. To focus on organizing students through an anti-white curriculum, organizing teachers to be opposed to all conservative thinking, which is racist, and to intimidate parents and community members towards their point of view. According to this view, all things American are in fact white supremacy culture. Our Constitution, our laws, our ways of life, the concepts of private property, individual liberty, free speech, the right to bear arms. In fact, the entire Bill of Rights, the very concept of limited government, all of it is white supremacy culture and therefore must be destroyed. That's purging. That's what purging is. Anything that is American now historically is now white American and racist by definition and must be purged. It is a three-pronged attack. Focus on the teachers, the students, and then on the local community. If you were to walk in any teachers union meeting in Los Angeles, Berkeley, Portland, Chicago, or New York, just to name a few, you would hear a discussion that would remind you more of a communist or socialist cell than a debate of teachers on working conditions, salaries, or benefits. Instead of attacks on management, you would hear screaming and yelling on how awful the current U.S. president is, how Israel is evil, how the American flag is racist, and why there should be open borders. Teachers union organizers are setting the stage for a major revolt in America, a civil war that may have already started. To do this, teachers unions leaders have formed coalitions with single-issue organizations who have no loyalty to America on her basic values. These coalitions include such causes as the gay and lesbian rights, and the more militant LGBT community, environmentalists, NFL player revolts against the national anthem, anarchists, Black Lives Matter, gun control enthusiasts, open border advocates, Palestinian nationalists, and La Raza, just to name a few. Making matters extremely worse is that these causes are connected to a worldwide international network, which of course is linked to the unholy alliance of globalists and tribalists, both opposed to the national state system. The globalists, through the likes of George Soros, and the tribalists supported by Muslim jihadists, are very much represented in local teachers' union meetings. Many teachers endorse these views through the euphemism curriculum called Common Core. Examples include global education, bilingualism, and multiculturalism, anti-white courses, and student programs which reject the U.S. Constitution and American founders. In other words, teachers are doing their bidding on the union organizers who know that the seeds are being sown for either support or passive participation in what only can be described as a coming civil war in America. Specifically for the teachers union organizers, there are very few challenges to what is going on in the schools, and students are being used to create a political storm that primarily is anti-conservative and anti-American. Chaos, fear, and anger are the goals of the organizer, a major departure from the past where specific labor outcomes were the missions of the union. The teachers union have been a major force behind open borders and the de facto elimination of nation-state systems. Along with other public sector unions, teachers unions leaders have promoted the influx of illegal aliens with their children to create cheap labor and students to pack our schools. With more students come additional money and union members. By the millions, illegal aliens are being used to depress wages in America. This will result in anger between American citizens and illegals. In our schools, the unions are using students as a force multiplier for anti-U.S. Constitution causes. For example, the National Student Walkout against the Second Amendment. The teachers' union has been the major force behind attacking President Trump and is a major force in the resist movement. It should be absolutely obvious that this organizing campaign is a code for attacking the basic electoral credibility of the United States. The resistance movement, in combination with the investigation of Russian involvement in our elections, is creating a national narrative that our elected president is illegitimate. This is a continuation of the election of President Obama. Teachers' union organizers were a major force behind the election of Obama. He was a candidate that could represent every left issue imaginable and represented a coalition like never seen before. This gave teachers' unions the opportunity to continue in organizing at the local level and for national issues, something which is the European model and not the U.S. union model, which focuses on the local level. Obama was seen as just the beginning of a permanent leftist lock on the presidency, in particular, and a general lock on political power in the U.S. When President Trump won, it was much more of a personal setback to union leaders and organizers than a setback in policy. Policy was simply a means to achieve more power. It is now clear, especially with the Janus decision, that the union organizing effort has been given a major setback and the unions must up the ante if they are going to gain back their position and power. The handwriting is on the wall. It is time to destroy, not just defeat, conservatives and the right. The above suggests that a perfect storm is being formed to create a civil war in the United States, a civil war which will be permitted by most Americans who will remain passive and uninvolved. This will be, in many ways, a civil war of attrition. Teachers' unions will lead the charge because they have the most to gain, power and control. Because the school is central to all urban areas, it is the main organizing entity. Here, teachers' unions can organize teachers, students, and sympathetic community members. Most important, organizing activities can change values and beliefs. If the school curriculum is grounded in open borders, the U.S. Constitution is viewed as a racist document and white people are automatically connected to racist organizations, even if they have nothing to do with them, and by their very DNA are regarded as racist. It is easy to see that the Civil War has already begun. This was signed by the NEA Insider. So I hope you see now by the end of this video that we are in a civil war. Shots have been fired, and it's going to get worse. But remember this, people. The conservatives, we're awake. We're not asleep anymore because we voted for Donald Trump, and he's winning, and America is winning. And the leftists are going to lose. This is panic mode for them. This is us moving forward, so don't forget that. But that doesn't mean they're not trying to ban us everywhere we are, okay? You need to fight back with these people, okay? We're not going to do it alone. And I'd like to give a big shout out to all the people that are being censored and shadow banned out there. InfoWars, Hagen Report, Lionel Nation, Western Journalism, Gateway Pundit, Judicial Watch, Mark Dice, Paul Joseph Washington, Zero Hedge, Drudge Report, Lisa Avon, William Mount, Diamond Silk, and even Tucker Carlson is starting to feel the force of this. Guys, we're not going to beat these people alone, but as a group, under the power of God, we are an unstoppable force, and Christ gives us this strength. So they will never win the censorship if we stick together. We need to go out to them as a group for antitrust lawsuits. We need to go out to them and as a group and stop watching their channels. Stop putting stuff on their sites, and they will bankrupt themselves. So we got to keep it up. So anyway, I'm done with this. This is Max signing out.